Hi everyone, welcome to today's Digital Marketing 101 Facebook Live. Today we'll be answering all your burning questions about starting, managing and optimizing your search and social campaigns. We can also discuss how to create engaging content and driving traffic to your website. So today I have two lovely members of the Digivisor team to help out, Patham and Brian. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
Hi, so I'm Brian Gibson, Head of Digital Strategy and Partnerships here at Digivisor. So my role is to work with our clients, understand their objective, understand the problems they're trying to solve, and coming up with a digital strategy that works across all the social media platforms, and also working with the likes of Facebook and LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on to make sure that we've got a healthy relationship with them.
Cool. Hey guys, Patham, Head of Paid Performance and Optimization here at Digivisor. So my team looks after all the paid performance across search, so you've got Google, Bing, then as Brian said, look after any biddable buying through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and LinkedIn, and work very closely with Brian on putting the best strategies and executions together for our clients.
Beautiful. Okay, well, start sending your questions through now that you know what these guys do and how they can help you out. You can leave them in the comment section below, but let's just get the live stream moving along. I'm going to start with a question from Dinesh. What trends do you see in digital marketing over the next 12 months?
Good question, Dinesh. So, should I take that one?
Yeah.
Your football team lost on the weekend, so I'll take this one.
That's a cold call there, like it's first week for the Broncos.
All right, so Dinesh, the question was, what trends do you think you'll see coming up, I guess, the next 12 months? So for me, it's going to be things like, I think Instagram Stories is going to be a platform and a placement that more people are going to be using. And Facebook's throwing a lot of effort into that at the moment and improvements in that delivery mechanism. I think LinkedIn Live is something definitely to look out for. So, they've launched that already in the US. It'll be here soon. So it's definitely something that, if we had LinkedIn Live ready now, I'm sure that this would be a platform that we're doing this kind of live stream on. I think Facebook groups will be stale. Like, it's a platform that people are really getting results on at the moment. So I think that will continue to play a part. And just kind of off to the side, I think things like people's EDM databases, so their email databases and CRM are going to be more relied on the more competitive social media becomes and the more expensive it becomes to advertise, because it is essentially a free platform to use. So if you've got your database there and you own it, then that's something that you've always got. So, yeah.
Cool. And from my end, I think from a paid performance perspective, I think what we typically like to see, and we are getting these questions more and more from our clients, is visibility about where our activity is being shown. Now, if you look at it from a search partner's perspective, audience network on say Facebook and LinkedIn, I think the biggest questions are, okay, my performance is great, but where is it being shown? Now we know that the publishers are working on these on the back end, and in some regions they are available, but some locations, especially like Australia with LinkedIn and Facebook, you'll get your data that just showcases the audience network, but where is that being shown? Why is my data looking good? Issues like, okay, is it a skippable ad, a non-skippable ad? So visibility on those types of ad assets, and delivery. So from a visibility point of view, I expect that to be, we're going to see more of that in the coming months.
Beautiful. All right, I'm going to go ahead to Ryan's question. I get that the reason you would have your brand online is to share your brand, but do you have any tips on getting the most out of this activity online to create engagement and achieve sales? There's a lot in that question.
Yeah, that was a long question, Ryan. Thanks for the question. So yeah, I think, so it sounds like you've already got, you've got a presence on social media, so you've built up your audience, but it's like, so what are you going to do with them next is what I'm hearing from that question. So I think just really working out what your audience wants is probably the next step. So, looking at who they are, which platforms they're typically on, having a look at your content strategy. So looking into, say even Google Analytics to say, what content have I been serving up to those people, trying to work out what's driving the result that you're after. and then just doing more of what works and less of what doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, look, I completely agree with that, and think, look, if there's anything that I can add is, just have a hard look at your target audience. Ensure that whoever you've defined as your target audience is where you play to those. So each of the platforms have got their strengths. So you'll have Facebook versus Twitter, and how they play to the audiences that you have, and then find a case for why you would use each platform. Just because the platform's there doesn't mean you should be across all of them, which could mean that, all right, you could be wasting your time if you're across all platforms, but if your target audience isn't there, you might as well save your time from posting on those platforms and double down on the platforms that your target audience does use.
Yeah, that's really great advice. I've got a lovely question from someone with a lovely name, Elvira. Please discuss the difference in B2B versus B2C digital strategy and ROI.
Yeah, okay. So the typical kind of split that you'd see on B2B versus B2C is like the platform would change, your tone of voice needs to change, and just your overall messaging. So the platforms that we typically see working for B2B is LinkedIn, probably more so Twitter. There is a place for that kind of content on Facebook if you've got the right messaging and the right time and that kind of thing. So they're probably some of the key differences. But yeah, just the messaging. So when you're posting on LinkedIn, make sure that you're talking to people in that environment that are primed to be reading business style content. Where on Facebook, example, you need to be talking more consumer friendly type of content. So they're probably my key things.
Yeah, no, that's summed it up pretty well.
Okay, this one coming in from Spria. How often should you indulge in Facebook organic posts? Should we focus on organic stuff too, along with paid ads?
Yeah, so there's two parts to that. So there's the how often should you post organically,
Yep.
and then kind of paid. So my first bit of advice would always be, how good is your content? How much content do you have?
Okay.
On Facebook, it depends. If you've got a lot of content, you can post more often. Now I've run pages where, one a day seems to be the right amount. I've run pages where I've done 5 or 6 posts. If you've got the audience there and they're ready to consume that content, and the more people that engage with the content that you put out, Facebook's going to serve it up to more people. Really watch the posts as you need to experiment, but watch the posts as you put them out. Very early on, look at whether the Facebook's serving up to a lot of people, and you'll gauge from looking at that insight whether they're that worked or whether they're ready for more content. But yeah, space them out by at least a couple of hours, and just experiment with 1 a day, 5 a day, and you'll kind of settle on what the right mix is. But you need the content to be able to drive that amount of posts. In terms of ads.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
jump in on that one. So from a paid perspective, I think the way we typically work is if there is an organic post that you've got out, now we typically let that run for 24 to 48 hours, see how that's performing, and measure that against, do a hard measure against your KPIs, like in terms of if it's a video views that you're looking for, look at the view rate that you're getting, the retention rate you're getting at a 3 and 10 second rate. How is that performing, one, against your KPIs, against your benchmarks, and then we'll typically decide whether to use that or not. Now, if it's not performing as well as it should be, or compared to your benchmarks, something that we do trial a lot is running dark posted ads. So typically, we might try the same video but different copy. We'll use the same video but use a different headline. Now, we'll A/B test them just to see if that makes a difference with our view rates. Okay, if we test the copy, the headlines, they don't make anything. All right, is it something to do with the video? Then we'll test, okay, is the first 3 seconds compelling? The 7 seconds after that, which includes your first 10 seconds, is that compelling enough for someone to stick around and watch your content? We'll do an analysis on that to see if that is it driving any better performance. Do we need to recut the video? So it really depends on what your previous benchmarks are, and I really do recommend to all clients to benchmark against themselves as well as the industry, because the industry benchmarks, okay, we've seen they do tend to be a little bit old, even if it is the latest data. So if you benchmark it against the latest data that you've got, and then see how your content is performing against that, they'll give you a true angle on whether it's good content or if it needs some work.
Okay. Shrini's asked a question, which I feel like maybe links back to what we just discussed, so maybe we can go into a bit more detail. But she asks, as a smallish company in the IT space, how often should I be posting on social media across LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter?
Yeah, okay. So I would suggest at least once per day on each of those platforms. Twitter, for example, can take a bit more content. I guess on Twitter, your content's less likely to be seen each time you put it out, so you can put out a bit more without kind of flooding someone's feed.
Yep.
So it was an IT company.
Smallish
Yep.
IT space.
Yeah, so IT, I'd be thinking, at least every day on the platforms. Maybe once or twice a day on LinkedIn, and a bit more than that on Twitter. So, but just look at how engaging your content is. So look at your engagement rate, see where they're interacting it, and you'll learn pretty quickly whether to dial it back, or if they're really loving your content, maybe dial it up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that and come back to what you were saying previously, Brian, I think it's a continual test and learn. It's not one of those practices that we set from the get-go and then just leave it for 6 months. Let's continually test it. Have a look at this week. How is it performing if you post it once per day? Next week, put 2 posts out a day. Look at the level of engagement. Look at your reach. Maybe you're gonna find some trends like Monday works better than Tuesday, or Friday works better than Wednesday, or Saturday, Sunday, nothing happens. So forget about posting on Saturday, Sunday, and front load it to Monday, Friday. So I think it's one of those ones where with the way that social is moving and how quickly it moves, you do need to continually test. You can set up best practices, but who knows how long that's going to last. We've both been in the industry for a while, and things that we always realize is things just change so quickly that you just need to keep A/B testing, keep testing different strategies, and come up with the best solution for you.
Yeah, what works this week might not work next week. It's that quickly that things can change. Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
All right, this one coming in from Tim. My business has a steady growth in customers, and I want to know how I can keep them engaged online.
Okay, so similar to one of the other questions we answered, but I would be, it's kind of looking at your audience, making sure you really understand your objective, or you have a set objective that you're trying to achieve, whether that's traffic to your website, or it's a number of video views, or it's leads in your database, or it's sales. But align everything with your objective and look at your audience and understand what they want by looking into things like Google Analytics, into your paid platform analytics, and just delivering more of that content that they want and less of what they don't.
Yeah, I mean, for me, again, benchmark against the KPIs, which are important to your business. So if it is engagement that's important, you can easily just make sure that if you look at engagement per platform, have your benchmarks to measure against. And then just quickly, I'll just show you from my perspective, if I was looking at, say, paid performance across a client, I'll typically look at, these are the amounts of impressions I've delivered, and if engagements are what's important to me, I'll typically pick this metric to compare it against. And if I'm looking at it from a set period of time, so I'm going to set it for the 1st of January till today, and then have a look at what's performing. I think what it allows me to do is gives me a holistic overview of what's performing. So from here, since I've taken it back to 1st of January, I can see that, we're getting a good amount of delivery and impressions here, but there was a huge spike from the 7th to the 8th and 9th. So then I'll have a look at what caused that change. What's made my engagement change so dramatically, and then do more of that.
Cool. I'm loving this one from Sean, so thanks for this one. Are there any free courses / certificates I can get online to kickstart my knowledge on digital marketing that you guys recommend? And who is currently doing social really well that's worth following? I have some awesome ideas in my head, but I don't have a clue where and how to start.
Yep, good question, Sean. So in terms of free courses out there, so the ones that we generally would look at first is the Google certifications. So they've got certifications in all of their ad key areas. So whether it's display ads or video ads or Google search ads, but then they also kind of another level up where you can look at kind of digital strategy and how to sell digital and that kind of thing. But it's a real plus that they are free. There's others like Facebook Blueprint that has a cost associated with it if you want to go all the way through their program. So there's obviously, it's there, but there's investment required.
Twitter Flight School, I think that's another place to really get started with Twitter. And I think it's something that we encourage all of our new employees and everyone that joins our team to get across and get certified in, because it gives them the initial fundamentals of each platform and how they work. And we can go into like real client work as well, but I guess understanding the fundamentals of what each platform it does, how it works, how to make the best use of what it can do, because each of the platforms got so many so many things that you can do with them, but you need to truly understand the power of it and how to get the best out of it by understanding the power of each platform.
Second half of the question about brands that are doing it well.
Yeah.
So someone on our team actually brought to my attention yesterday what Tourism Australia are doing on Instagram stories. So essentially what they're doing is letting their audience dictate what their content is. So they're running an Instagram stories campaign. They put a poll out in their Instagram stories about which location people want to see from next. So it could be Sydney Harbour Bridge, or it could be Great Barrier Reef, or some Ayers Rock or something, whatever in Australia. And then based on what their audience tells them is where their Instagram stories content will come from next. So it's user generated content. Sort of people will be tagging themselves at these places that the users have voted that they want to see from. So I think that's a pretty cool activation from an Australian brand recently.
Yeah, you know what, you stole my idea. I was going to bring the same one, but I think the idea behind what they're doing is giving the people what they want to see, rather than flashing a huge sales ad in front of them. If it's content that they want to see, that they want to consume, then they will look at that without thinking of it as advertising. And that's what I think we try to do with a lot of our brands. Like, okay, rather than try to do a hard sell, try and educate the audience. And if you can do that, you'll get them to automatically engage without having to try too hard. Because we find that the more we try to be really salesy, that's where we start to see a lot of drop-offs. But if you start to make it feel organic, natively part of the platform, and giving people what they actually want to see, we get the best performance.
And humanise the brand as well. So actually make people realise there's someone there working behind the brand. You're not just a name on the top of a building. People in a tower. They're actually real people working there. I think sports is probably a space that I know both kind of worked in that space before, that are really leading the game in terms of digital. So
can I ask this question from Michael then, who has a sports specific question? Well, he says, a football specific question for Gibbo, smiley face. Are there any semi-professional sports teams you have seen that do things well on social /web without being just a light version of professional sports teams without coming across as amateur /community only operation?
So there's a lot in that. Thank you, Michael. I think I might know who that Michael is. There are. I worked in round ball football for 4.5 years, and worked a lot with the grassroots kind of community and that kind of thing. I think Live stream. I mean, they're really leading the game in live streams at the moment. Like, you know, every game's live stream. But you look into some of the kind of the second tier, I guess, of footballing teams in that space, and they're doing heaps of behind the scenes. You know, interviewing players when they come off the field. Just content from training and that kind of thing. It just really it makes you buy into the people that are behind that brand. You think the brand as being the sports club, but people buy into the players. So bringing in more of that kind of people content out and bringing out their personalities is what people will attach to. And they're the reason that people are going to purchase from your brand or engage with it, you know, turn up to a sporting match, that kind of thing. Hopefully that answered your question, Michael.
Do you have any sporty things you want to share?
I'm a Broncos fan, so unfortunately not for this one.
Okay.
You're still a fan after the weekend?
Look, I think they're starting. It's a bit of a slow start, but we always come to final season.
Yeah, slow and steady wins the race, right?
We get to the final series, so I'm definitely hoping for a finals spot this year, and obviously take the prize home.
Cool. Watch this space.
Yeah. Broncos.
Michelle asks, what about utilising HubSpot as a platform, or would you suggest their documentation around digital strategy instead?
So I can answer about HubSpot. I'm not too sure what the digital documentation is that they're talking about, whether that's HubSpot documentation. But HubSpot is a great platform for a lot of things. Their downside to me would be just their website CMS and the flexibility over kind of building website in HubSpot. But in terms of their end-to-end tracking, there's not too many platforms playing in that particular space that can do that. So they have a CRM, they have the database that's built in there. If people come to the website, it tracks them from end to end. So a user on your website right through to becoming a lead, converting. You can do automated emails, nurture campaigns, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a good platform. It can get quite expensive to run an instance of HubSpot, but it's definitely a good platform to use. Yeah.
Okay, this one coming in from Madge. Hey guys, occasionally I come across people talking about my page, but it's just by chance. Is there any ways you can suggest a way for me to track this?
Yeah, so good question, Madge.
Have you seen the Digivisor platform?
Yeah, well, it's because it's one of those difficult ones, right? Because there's social so powerful. There's a lot of people using it, but how easy is it to track? And that's I guess one thing really good about the Digivisor platform, that you can do that. So if I give you a quick showcase of how this works, essentially we just go into the Earn tab over here, and again I've resorted back to the date range that we've got, but looks like there's a lot of data in there. So let me just take it back a little bit, and let's go to February instead. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to showcase who's talking to you and who's talking about you, because it's one of those ones where it's really hard to track, very time consuming, but if you can have that delivered to you with a click of a button, why wouldn't you do that? So we've got an example here. So if I scroll through here for the date range that I've selected, so you can see that I've selected from the 1st of February to the 20th of March. These are the people that's talking about the brand or what I'm interested in. So if there was something that I was specifically looking for, so for example, if I wanted to have a look at a hashtag, and we're going to use the myrons.com at the moment, we can filter by that, and then have a look at the amount of people talking about it, and see that populate. So I'm just letting that, there's probably a lot of people there at the moment, but what I'll do is look, what this tool is good for is having a look at the platforms of who's talking about you per platform, the hashtags, so you can select the hashtags that you do want to follow, so whether that be your own or similar hashtags for your brand, and then as you can see down here, that will be all populated for you. So that'll just populate right here. And the beauty of it is, if there is something that you're really interested in, just click into it, and a loader for you on the platform itself.
I've got quite a fun one from Jackson. How do I make my content go viral?
Oh, that's the million dollar question, Jackson. Yeah, sometimes I don't know, sometimes you can try too hard and try and make something viral and it doesn't work. Sometimes there's stuff that you wouldn't have thought that goes viral.
Yeah, I mean, we get that question all the time. It's really not an easy, well, is it an easy question or is it a hard question? But I think it comes back to the example you had earlier, Brian. If it's content that your people want to see, that typically has the best engagement. It shows them what they want, rather than trying to sell something to them.
Yeah.
And if you can understand what that is and what that value proposition is to your target audience, that's your best chance of something going viral. Because it is, like Brian said, can be a hard one to define, and something might go viral this week and might not go viral next week. I mean, I had a similar case where I put a video out, got 40,000 views in 1 week. The next, organically, is all to your point, Brian, that's no paid behind it. The next week I put a similar video out and I got 2,000 views. So it really depends on the content and understanding your audience and giving them something that is of value to them.
I think it's as well, it's the brands that are happy to kind of take off their corporate hat and do lighthearted, funny content.
Yeah.
That generally is what you see go viral these days.
Absolutely.
But and just creating content that's shareable, like just thinking to yourself and you know, asking the person next to you, would you share this content?
Yep.
And if they wouldn't, it's not going to get viral. So just doing that kind of sanity check to say, you know, are people actually going to share this?
Absolutely. And yeah, like it can be hard at times. So yeah, give them what they want.
Right, I've got quite a clever question coming through from Kate. I'm starting to put together a bit of a strategic plan for my business's digital activity. What are some of the most important things I should be including?
Yep. Okay, good question, Kate. So I'd always start with the objective. So, you know, really asking yourself, what is your objective? What do you want to achieve? Make sure that it's, you know, a smart objective and it is achievable. Other things like determining your audience and who they are and what platforms they're on. Determine your key messages. What is your offer? What is that offer that you're going to take out? Is it compelling and do you have it in the right words? Thinking about a conversion funnel. So when we typically talk about a conversion funnel, we've got awareness, consideration, conversion. So just thinking about what messaging you're going to give people at different levels of the funnel. Think about your owned, earned, paid mix. So when we say earned and paid, owned is like your email database and the emails you send out, your website, your social channels. Thinking about earned, so things like influencers, also, you know, PR, different things you do in that space, and then the paid mix. So thinking about Google ads and Facebook ads, display ads and YouTube and all that kind of thing. You know, review your content strategy, work out, you know, what is that you want to be sharing with people based on the data, based on what you're seeing that they're already engaging with. Have a think about things like your tone of voice, and then just stick to the plan. So create a timeline, next steps, when you want to get content out by, you know, what you want to achieve by it. Just stick to your deadlines. So that would be my tips.
They're your tips.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you covered off a big chunk of it, but if I jump in from a paid perspective, I think the biggest mistake I see brands make is that they'll have their own internal KPIs and they'll try and relate only that KPI to their social activity. So if we're doing any paid activity, they only focus on sales, which is obviously the end objective, but I think what you need to do is, as you touched on earlier, Brian, when you're looking at the funnel, when you're going broad, you've got your consideration phase and your sales, or you know, your final touch point for a user. You need to, rather than putting a final hard KPI from a sales perspective, look at how your funnel's performing, and you can only do that by looking at performance metrics per stage. So, and what I mean by that is, say when you're going broad, you shouldn't measure your broad part of the funnel on sales. If it's a video we're pushing out, look at your view rate, look at your retention rate, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get people into that funnel. If it's a consideration and we're retargeting people from the first step, which is getting your video out, retarget people that viewed your video, but your next stage of performance metrics shouldn't be, again, sales. It's you're looking at, okay, now I've got these engaged users, I've got a pool of them, I'm hitting them, and I'm now pushing more content to them. What is my click-through rate? How many people are coming to site? Look at Google Analytics. What are they doing on site? Where is the drop-off? If I've got a high bounce rate on a certain part of the site, maybe I need to change the site that I'm driving them to. Then that final touch point where you're looking at people that have been to your site, maybe added something to their cart, but they've abandoned it, or they've been to multiple pages on your site but haven't transacted. Looking at that final retargeting piece, that's where you want to have a look at, okay, this is the amount of click-throughs that have come from here, this is where they've landed, is the page they're landing on right? But then at that point you look at the performance metric of click-through rates, sales, because at that point you've nurtured someone down from the funnel, and then follow through alongside with that, having a look at GA in terms of, okay, these are what people are doing on my site, this is where I'm losing people, this is where I need to change it up to get better ROI on my strategy.
Got a really good one coming in from Alice. Should I treat my different social platforms differently? I'm a very active Facebook and Instagram user, but have no experience with Twitter and LinkedIn. Is it worth getting on these platforms? And what can they do for my business and marketing success?
So yes, you do need to treat them differently. When we put strategy together for clients and messaging and content, we always try, we never put the same style of post or the same wording out on all channels, because they are different audiences, and audiences on those platforms are there for different reasons. They want to consume different types of content, so definitely can't think of them all as the same. Whether I think it was Alice, whether she wants her brand or whatever to be on all platforms, it's hard to say with actually knowing what her brand is and what her business is trying to achieve. If there's a B2B element, then definitely you want to be doing something on LinkedIn as well. But kind of really need to understand a bit more about her business to be able to kind of recommend which platforms that she'd be on. But testing them out and working out going onto those platforms and looking at the conversation that exists already there. So on LinkedIn and Twitter, for example, are people talking about the business that she's in? And if there's people there, then it makes sense to go and play on those platforms.
Yeah, I mean, look, just adding to that, I think you touched on that again, Brian. It's just identifying that target audience and playing to where they are. Because if the demographic that you're looking for, say, looking for 30 plus, there's platforms that play that strength. Whereas if you're looking for a younger audience, there are other platforms like your Snapchats and Instagram stories that perform better with that younger audience. So I think once you know and have identified that target audience, you know which platforms to look at, which will help determine which ones you should be on, rather than trying to be across all of them, spreading your time out thinly. I think we had a similar question earlier on. Focus on your target audience and where they are, rather than trying to be across everything, and it may not working. But again, test and learn. It'll tell you a lot, and read the data.
All right, we've got Kenny who's actually asking about Facebook Live. So perfect time to ask the question. With Facebook live stream, what is the best way to get more viewers and engage with viewers to build more audience to join the weekly live stream? I also want to thank you for your manners. You ended with a thank you, so thank you, Kenny.
Thanks, Kenny. So Facebook Live. So how do you boost the amount of viewers that are coming back? Well, First thing would be making sure that your content's good, that you've thought through what it is that you're going to be talking through. I'm not too sure exactly what it is that Kenny is streaming, but just making sure that it's really relevant to your target audience, and then using kind of not only Facebook Live, Facebook page, Facebook groups, But thinking about the full kind of marketing mix, like I mentioned before, owned and paid. So, you might put some paid ads behind an event, write a blog about it for your website, use your email list if you have an email list, to just let people know that it's coming up, remind them, and get them tuning in.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
This one from Brody. There are so many metrics to track on each platform. How do I choose what matters to my business?
I'll take this one.
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors. You want to go? Look, Brody, good question, and I think a really important one. You're right. There are so many metrics out there, and people get so confused when you look at the hundreds of metrics that you can have. But I think it comes back to the funnel question that we had earlier, and that's identifying one. If you're looking at building a funnel, bringing people in, getting them to re-engage, and then finally drive conversion. Benchmark the appropriate KPIs. So, for example, if we're looking at videos, let's look at view rates. Let's look at the cost per 10-second view. Let's look at the retention rate. Let's have a look at sound on and off. Now, those numbers are really important at, identifying the quality of the video and if things need to change from a video perspective. Now, if you're looking at it from you're trying to drive people from, say, Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn to your site, you want to have a look at the quality of the traffic that you're driving through. So you might find that you might get a poorer click-through rate on LinkedIn, because we know that LinkedIn can be quite expensive, especially if you compare them to Facebook. But look at the qualified audience. Take that into consideration. So it's not just a cost per click and a click-through rate, because what people tend to do is they'll use that same metric and push it across the board, but the audiences that you're hitting might not necessarily resonate the same way, because you are hitting a more qualified audience on Twitter. Similar with Twitter and LinkedIn, but Facebook might be a little bit broader. So even though you're driving more traffic to your site, they might be poorer at converting. So that's when you'll work that in with your Google Analytics, have a look at the people. So if you've tagged them up correctly, you'll be able to see the people coming in from LinkedIn, have a look at the people that convert, and then have a look at it, measure it from a cost per acquisition point of view. Because even though your cost per click could be $10 on LinkedIn versus 60 cents on Facebook, if 1 out of 100 convert on Facebook, but 1 out of 2 converts on LinkedIn, you'll find that your cost per acquisition is lower on LinkedIn. And then if you have a look at from that final sales piece again, if it's a piece of static content that you're trying to drive, again, look at your click-through rates per platform, but then put that into perspective of the platform that you're on, because it's easy to say, hey, I'm getting a lower cost per click on Facebook, but is it quality? Facebook does drive good quality, but you do need to measure that against GA and what they're doing on site, and where they actually lead to.
This one from Indiana. What would you suggest the top 3 tips being to grow a social following while still promoting my business? So top 3 tips.
To grow a social following while still
promoting my business.
Promoting your business. So I think I understand that question to be, what's the balance between posting just general social content versus more salesy type of content? Generally speaking, on Facebook at least anyway, the more salesy the content that you post, if Facebook kind of gets wind of the fact that you're trying to sell anything, they're going to choke your reach. So pretty much no one's got to see it. So everyone's talking about Facebook being a pay-to-play platform. You really need to be running ads if you want to try and sell anything through Facebook. So balancing that up with all the organic stuff shouldn't be salesy. It needs to be the engaging content that we've already talked about. Humanizing your brand, producing what your audience wants, and that kind of stuff. So warming them up, getting them really attached to your brand. So when they do see a sales ad or a message in their Facebook feed, they're kind of ready to consume with your brand. Would be my advice.
Got any tips?
I think you hit the nail on the head there in terms of giving them the content at the right time. Trying to hit them straight up with a sales message, they're just going to be turned off by it. So yeah, absolutely, completely agree with that, Brian.
All right, Nikhil, could you take us through the paid capabilities of your platform? Nikhil, I think I've got the right person.
Absolutely. So I can take you a quick overview as to the paid platform over here. I think what I'd love to do is, if you'd like, I can take you through a more in-depth analysis after the Facebook Live event, just so we're not spending way too much time on it. But
if you go to digivisor.com/booking,
yep,
you'll be able to book in a session with one of us or the team that we can do a review of your account and take you through the platform.
But yeah, quick overview. You've got different filters of platforms. If you want to have once your platforms are connected, have a look at the different platforms specifically if you like, different objectives that you've set up in each of your platforms. So you can filter this way, select your date range, select the metrics that matter to you from a table perspective. So you can customize that if you like. As you can see here, it's dynamically changing for you. And then performance per platform, you've got the table down below. And if you are a data nerd like me and you want to export this, pivot it, play around with it, you can export this data as well. But definitely, as Brian said, use the link, book in a session with us, and we can dedicate some time to you to take you through this.
There's a 30-day free trial as well, so
bonus.
Go in, have a look, have a play around, reach out to us, we can take you through it in more depth.
I've got intercom support on platform as well.
All right, Mahe is asking, I'm spending money on Facebook ads and they're not generating any sales. What do I do next?
So the first thing I would do is to look at what is the offer. What is the offer that what's in the messaging that I'm putting out there. It's obviously not right. Either that or your product's not right. So, looking at those two things first to make sure there's a fit with your audience. But looking at everything through from the copy that you're using, the image you're using, the style of post, whether it's an image or a video, live stream and so on. Just kind of reviewing that end to end and just thinking about the funnel. Make sure you have a funnel. So very rarely would someone purchase from a brand if it's the first ad or the first time they've seen your ad come up in their feed. They haven't seen your brand before, so you need to think about the funnel and making sure that they're seeing multiple bits of content. So, awareness stage, thinking about a video, more of a reach campaign. And then once they've seen that, you can retarget people that have watched the video or that have been through your website with a more kind of in-depth, further towards the sales step, and then after they've seen a reasonable amount of content, hitting them with a sales ad. Be my advice to Mahe.
Yeah, and I think, look, just to add to that, again, Mahe, great question. We get that asked a lot in terms of how can we help improve the funnel? How can we help increase sales? And it's what you need to look at is the funnel, not just from a Facebook perspective, but then once you've got that funnel in place, what's the user experience like? If we're driving off the site, is the user experience on your site easy to use, easy to navigate? Do people trust the brand? All of that plays into if someone wants to convert. I know I typically do that. I'll have a look at their Facebook page. I'll have a look at their site. Especially if this is something new to me, I'll go on Google, have a look at their reviews. I'll do a bunch of research before I, invest in a new brand or buy something through a new retailer, especially if it is online, to ensure that, if I'm paying for something, I do get it. So if it's something that, you followed best practices on Facebook, have a look at what's the experience like on your site. Use Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, whichever one you're using, to find out, is there any drop-offs on your site? Is there any sites that have got a large bounce rate? Are people able to transact on your site? Sometimes there are issues that haven't been rectified on site, things like having security on there. So just ensure that, they are little things, but have a look at the whole process rather than just looking at a platform.
Alan is asking, my website is not attracting many visitors currently. Are there any techniques I could use that might help that without spending more money?
Yeah, thanks. Good question, Alan. So the first thing that comes to mind is SEO, so search engine optimization. That's the process of improving how your website appears in organic search engine rankings. So whether it's Google, Bing, other platforms. So it involves going and looking at your website, making sure that it's loading quickly, making sure that you've got keywords throughout your site. If you're using WordPress, there's a great plugin, Yoast, that a lot of people use on their site. That'll kind of do a lot of the optimization for you, or at least tell you where you're lacking and where you can fix it. But that's probably, SEO is probably I could go on for half an hour on SEO, but definitely look into it, find out more about it, and that's the place that I would start. Yeah.
Jesse is coming back to Facebook, so how can I tell if I'm wasting money on ads I'm running on Facebook?
Similar answer to we just gave Mahe. Yeah, just looking at your offer, looking at your messaging, and just looking at when they go to the site, is your landing page doing its job? Yeah.
All right, one from Chris. How do I make it big on Periscope?
Oh, this is yours, Mr. Periscope.
Periscope, yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Periscope's a live stream platform that had a fair amount of experience with.
What? How many views do you normally get? You get quite a lot, don't you? Is it over 10,000?
No, not that many.
Oh.
So the good thing, one of the best things about Periscope is its discovery kind of within the platform, where a lot of the others, like if you're trying to discover a Facebook live stream, you pretty much need to be following that page, have notifications set up so you actually know when they're streaming. Some of the other platforms like Instagram and stuff, Snapchat and so on, that they disappear straight away. But Periscope's really good for just going, right, I want to find a stream about whatever the topic is and putting in a hashtag. So things like using hashtags on Periscope, engaging with the audience, rather than just kind of talking as if they're not there and just having your own conversation with yourself. Really engage with the people that are on your audience. So the best streamers, I think, are the ones that are actually referring to the name of the person as they come into the stream, like welcoming them, where are you from, and that kind of thing. So it's just all about really being engaged and talking to the people that are like you guys on the other end of the stream.
Okay, and we had a question from Tim on Instagram. How do I know if my social media posts are resulting in new customers?
So, so the question was Instagram? He's
So
using Instagram?
he sent us a message via Instagram. That's all I was saying there.
Okay.
So not just the Facebook Live, we also had people sending questions via the Instagram stories.
Right.
So just gave you a bit of how
Yep.
a different question came in,
Yep.
but it's not part of the question.
Yep.
The question was, how do I know if my social media posts are resulting in new customers?
The first thing that comes to mind is end-to-end tracking. So make sure you put in UTM or tracking codes on all your links. And just tracking them through tools like Google Analytics all the way through to make sure your tagging set up so when someone does convert, you know that they've converted, and then you'll be able to see kind of where they came from and whether they did convert or not. It's probably the
Google Analytics, Facebook Analytics, still quite new, but both are very, very powerful tools to tell you, to give you the data of what's performing and what's not. And then if you've got the pixels set up correctly on your site, that enables people to see not just what's happening on platform, but what's happening on your website as well. So if it's new customers, if it's revenue, that's data that each of these platforms can pull and present back to you.
Have you switched to Instagram because Facebook's down again, or?
Ouch! It was just a couple of hours.
Okay, so this will be our last question, so we'll wrap up the live stream with this one.
Okay.
It's coming from Alan again, so thanks for participating, Alan. He's asked about KPIs and how you determine and set them in the first place. how do you set those KPIs in the first place? How do you decide which is best for your business?
Yeah, okay.
So where do you begin?
Start on that one. So the question that I probably ask more than any other is what's your objective? So what actually are you trying to achieve this month, this year? Is it sales? Do you have a revenue target? What is it that your business is trying to do? And then thinking about kind of the way the place that digital plays in that, and aligning those KPIs to that objective. So if you've just launched a business and you're in awareness phase, then you'd be looking at reach on your message. So things like reach, impressions. If you're running a brand awareness video, then you're looking at video views. If you've already got a big audience and it's like you've got an offer this month, then you want to be looking at sales and actual conversions and that kind of thing. So just really looking at where your business is at the moment, what your overarching business objectives are, and then aligning digital KPIs with that particular thing.
Yeah, I think the biggest alignment's probably the digital KPIs aspect, because everyone always looks at just what the business goals are, and then aligning digital KPIs, digital results to that is probably the biggest mistake I see. And it comes back to the question that we had earlier regarding the funnel, putting the right metrics in the right places. We get this question a lot. We've had a video in Broad, we're optimizing towards video views, but the number of link clicks are so low. So when you're optimizing towards a goal, but you're trying to measure it on a different goal, there's the correlation between those two it's very poor, right? So why would you measure if you optimize towards video views on link clicks? So I think aligning each aspect of the funnel to how it should be. So if it's broad and we're pushing a video, look at that retention rate, look at where you're losing people, and focus on that aspect of it. If you try and mix it up between video views, link clicks, conversions, it gets really messy at that point. And that's where I think the misalignment between digital KPIs and like business goals does happen. So you want to ensure that if you do have social activity that's going out, and for example, Facebook, we measure on things that we can optimize towards, get the best out of, because that's what allows us to have the best success for how each of the platforms and each parts of the funnel are performing.
All right, well, before we wrap up, I was thinking, Patha, maybe you can give us a little quick walkthrough of the Digivisor platform, because I'm not sure if everyone who's on the stream has been able to see the platform, so maybe you can walk it through.
Yeah, absolutely. So once you log into the digital the platform for Digivisor, the first overview screen will give you an idea of all the organic accounts that you've got. So this is the social accounts over here. So you've got your Facebook, shown by the logo, obviously Twitter, guess the next one, Instagram, LinkedIn, and just below that, you're having a look at the paid accounts here. So again, identified by the logo on the far left. So you got your Facebook, Twitter, and Google accounts. So that's the overview screen. Just a quick overview on the social accounts. If I go into here, you're going to be given a overview of performance for the Facebook page. So there's your total page likes, post engagements, number of posts, then your likes and reactions, shares and comments. Now, if we scroll a little bit further down, I think you saw me earlier pick the date range, not this time, when I gave the demo a bit earlier on, from the 1st of February to the 20th of March. And if you scroll a little bit further down, and just remember we are looking at Facebook here, you've got the posts ranked by engagement. So Brian, you came across earlier doing more of what works and doing less of what doesn't. This will give you a really good idea as to top performing posts. So have a look at, on the top line, and as you scroll through the top performing posts here. So it could help you make a decision of, okay, these are the types of content that I need to do more of, and anything towards the bottom that has, say, the least amount of engagement, potentially do less of that. So as you can see, this client's got a lot of content, so it does go on for a long time, but measure in terms of engagement what's working well, and then do more of where you get the most engagement. We touched on this earlier with the earn tab. So it's anyone that's talking about you or to you. So you can pick the hashtags that you do want to follow. So as you can see here, we've got a few selected ones. We've got mentions per platform. And then if you want to filter by platform as well. And essentially what that will do is then populate this down here. So especially if you want to know who's talking to you or about you, this is a great place that will give you all that data, and you can see everything. And as I touched on earlier with the paid side as well, if you are a bit of a data nerd and want to have a look at all the metrics associated to the platform, export that to CSV, create your pivot tables, have a look, and then do the data analysis that way. If you're running paid across your activities, so again, we can see the data table here, which is highly customizable depending on the metrics that's important to you. So at the moment, we've got it set up as we're tracking impressions, engagements, and our spend. But for example, if I want to switch that over to video views, now you can see that it swaps over to video views and measures that against our engagement and our spend. And then if you wanted to deep dive further, which Brian and I recommended, if you did want us to help run through a deep dive, book in a 15-minute session with us, we can deep dive and help you look at the data from a platform specific, go into your campaigns, your ad sets, and adverts. So I hope that was enough of an overview to have a look at what the product can do. But absolutely, if you are interested, let us know and book in a 15-minute demo with us. Or even just sign up, and there's a 30-day free trial. So play around with the data. If you're having any issues, contact us directly through the platform, or we've got Intercom on the site as well, and be connected to us.
We'll throw the free trial link in the chat below if it's already there. So yeah, check it out.
Cool.
All right, thanks guys. We'll wrap it up here. We'll try to get to all of your questions if we haven't answered everything, but like we said, jump on the website, digivisor.com, sign up to a free trial, or book in a session with these guys. See ya!
See ya!
Thank you.